is good, everybody? Welcome into another week of the Midstate 48, driven by Miracle Auto Group. Chris Brooks along with you for the ride into the second half of the regular season. Let's bring on everybody else. Gentlemen, hello. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Doing good.
Hard to believe the first half of the season's over already. How fast is this year going by?
Yeah. We were just talking about getting plans made for Chattanooga coverage this year, and we're a third of the way there already. It's kind of wild.
Think fast, run fast.
Yeah, well, on last week's show, if we didn't mention it on the show, but afterwards we all got to looking at the picks. We all had most of the same picks, and it's because we are halfway through the season. We're starting to figure this thing out. Teams are really starting to separate themselves and move forward.
Yep. Yeah, and so a first on this show that we'll talk about when we get to who you got, but just a little tease there, but not going to reveal that just yet. Guys, week 5 came and went, and Scott, I'll start with you because you were over at East Robertson for a pretty big game in Region 4 in Class 2A with Harpeth in East Robertson, and we wondered about Harpeth, whether they were going to be a contender or not, and the score told the story.
Yeah, it was total domination by East Robertson. Just a lot of Zechariah Prince, a lot of Sean Groves. Really, we talked a little bit about how good the line was. Just on what we had seen and what we looked at on stat sheets, but I think that I think that the East Robertson Indians took that personally because their lines dominated. Harpeth, this was the biggest test they'd had so far. They could bounce back, but right now I think that East Robertson's just at another level.
42-0 for East Robertson in that game. Zach Prince had a big night. We'll talk about him. He's a finalist for Player of the Week this week as well. Cam, you kept your eyes on a lot of stuff Friday, and that Mount Juliet White County game was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had a chance to turn that one over and really got to watch about the midway through the third quarter through the rest of the ball game. That one got crazy at the end of the game as Mount Juliet scores with 3 minutes left to go up by 7. White County scores with 17 seconds left, goes for 2 and gets it, takes a 43-42 lead, only to have Mount Juliet hit the hook and ladder down to the 11-yard line, and Mount Juliet kicks a 26-yarder as time expires to beat White County 45-43. One of the craziest games I've watched in a long time at the high school level. Also had a chance to watch a little bit of the Lipscomb Academy and Franklin Road Academy game. And, man, Hank Brown and Junior Sherrill really put on a show on that one. It looked like you were hitting the repeat button and watching number 3 run it down the right sideline for a touchdown on every play. But really good performance by Lipscomb Academy. FRA, first game where they've had difficulty getting Ty Clark going, but they get a chance this week to get things righted before they play CPA. Not too worried about that FRA team. Lipscomb, a lot of people have them as the best team in the state, all classifications. So really excited to see where things go from here. Some injuries going around in the Midstate, but that's part of the game.
I looked at a little bit of that game. Actually, I watched the Mount Juliet game a little bit, and I will say that Malachi Dow, real deal, doesn't look overpowering, but maybe has the best vision running back wise in the state. He can, he sees holes opening up. I mean, he's got like Jedi ability. He sees things happening before they happen, and it was just amazing to watch the give and take between those two teams. It was really, really a probably an instant classic for better or worse.
Yep. Tom, what stood out to you from week 5?
I tell you what, that Region 5-5A race, guys, that's going to be a lot of fun with White County, with Malachi Dowell this year. Certainly they are drawing a lot of attention. They get Green Hill this week. Speaking of Green Hill, they knock off Hillsboro 17-7. And what about Hillsboro? They played a pretty tough schedule. They're 0-4, but I believe that's a good football team. I think 5-5A is really going to be an interesting race right down to the wire. And like you pointed out with Harpeth and even FRA, I think we saw a couple of teams, not maybe what all the hype was about to begin with. Not saying they're not good football teams at all. Certainly FRA is. You can't hardly judge a whole lot playing Lipscomb Academy. But that Harpeth score I thought was quite telling. 42-0, the final score there. And I thought NBA also had another big statement win this week. They just continue to roll on. They knock off Father Ryan 45-7. And just looking like really a strong team there, the NBA bunch now at 5-0 in the season. And, Riverdale falls to Rockvale. Guys, what about that one? That's one I know I had in my picks that just felt like Rockvale maybe was just a little bit better team. Riverdale's been a little bit inconsistent, and Rockvale pulls the upset there.
Yeah, Riverdale's really struggled on the offensive side of the ball. I believe the final on that one was 20-7. They led 7-6 for the longest amount of time. Just could never get that extra cushion from the offense to support that lead. You mentioned that that game. What about the Lebanon Blue Devils?
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're soul searching here after week 5. They got to get it corrected and try to pick up a little bit of momentum heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, let's go back to Riverdale for just a second. The Warriors are in the danger zone right now because with that loss to Rockvale, now they're looking at possibly a 3 or 4 seed in the playoffs, and can't forget Siegel over there. If Siegel was to do, they've still got to play Siegel. If they lose to Siegel, we may be talking about a playoff without Riverdale. It's very, very possible. So something to keep an eye on the second half of the season in Region 4 of Class 6A. Just interesting times in Rutherford County so far. Yeah, Lipscomb Academy, killing everybody pretty much at this point. Number 1 in most every poll in this state, and for good reason. They've pretty much dominated everybody. Really, really big performance from Junior Sherrill. It's 9 passes, caught 239 yards, 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he's also on our Player of the Week finalist list, which, if you all will allow me, we'll go ahead and pull up.
Let's do it.
All right. The Miracle Auto Group Player of the Week finalists are as follows. It's Colby Barnes from DeKalb County, 272 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns on 24 carries. Tigers won at Cumberland County 48-13. Alex Bradshaw from Creekwood, they had a big upset when they told Oklahoma 16-3. Bradshaw picked off 3 passes for the Redhawks in that one. Hank Brown, Lipscomb Academy, 12 of 18, 257 yards passing, 6 touchdowns as they beat FRA, as we just mentioned. Darius Morton, Mount Juliet, 25 carries, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns for them. We all talked about Malachi Dowell, but Morton had a monster game for the Golden Bears as well and was a big reason why they were able to win it. Zach Prince, East Robertson, Scott, you mentioned him, 13 carries, 243 yards, 4 touchdowns. Also caught a pass for 43 yards in that win and that shutout over Harpeth. Junior Sherrill had all 6 touchdowns, as we just mentioned, 9 catches, 239 yards. Garrett Wheatley from Friendship Christian, 9 of 17 passing, 275 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 7 carries for 14 yards in the score. They blanked the Kings Academy 33-0. Votes are tallied for the fans, and DeKalb County showed out. Colby Barnes gets the fans' vote this week. Tom, you've went with Junior Sherrill.
Guys, when you catch 9 passes for 239 yards and 6 touchdowns in a game against an undefeated FRA team, that's some amazing numbers from a wide receiver perspective. I thought that performance really stood out.
Cam, you went with Darius Morton.
I did. All the talk coming into that game was Malachi Dowell. Morton stepped up, led his team to victory with 277 yards, really went toe-for-toe with the pretty much the hands-down best running back in the state of Tennessee.
All right. Scott, Junior Sherrill's your pick.
Yeah, you get 9 passes. You're 20% sure you're going to make this list. You get 239 yards receiving. 90% you're going to be on this list. You get 6 touchdowns, you're 99% sure you're going to be on this list. You do all of that in one game, you should be at the top of this list.
Fair enough. And that's the way I went as well. Junior Sherrill. I mean, 6 touchdown passes, and all of them were off of short passes. They were not deep balls either. He had to really work for those yardage and touchdowns in that win for Lipscomb Academy. So, congratulations to Lipscomb Academy's Junior Sherrill. He is our Miracle Auto Group Player of the Week for week number 5. We will slide out there to Lipscomb Academy and present some hardware very, very soon. Now let's hear from our wonderful sponsors at Miracle Auto Group, shall we?
Are you ready for a miracle?
New 2022 Jeep Gladiator Overland. 0% APR financing for 72 months. 0 down. That's $9,576 in total savings. Jeep Adventure Days at Miracle Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Gallatin. Get $9,576 in total savings on a new 2022 Jeep Gladiator Overland.
Are you ready for a miracle?
Oh, dude, I've got to get me one of those, but I've got to send Annette on Wednesday. It's Ladies' Day. Those are sweet looking pickup trucks there.
Very, very, very nice for sure. Thanks to Miracle Auto Group for sponsoring both this show and the Player of the Week award that we have every single week on here on the Midstate 48. Scott, let's do something a little different this week. You were over at East Robertson, and you got to have dinner over there. And, tell me about what we're fixing to see in this video before I play it.
Well, it got to talking on Twitter about what there is to eat over there at East Robertson, and somewhere in the mix of all of it, they invited me over to the concession stand to try a Arnold Palmer and their barbecue. And, I accepted, of course. But I was not expecting what they had in mind. So they showed me behind the scenes.
All right, let's have a look.
Tell me about your Arnold Palmer.
Hello, I'm Jenny J with East Robertson Quarterback Club, and we have our special drinks, Arnold Palmer's lemonade or sweet tea. So here's what our Arnold Palmer will look like. It's half lemonade and half tea. You get your lemon in there, freshly squeezed here. It's very nice. It accompanies really well with our pulled pork sandwiches. Come this way.
Outstanding.
We have a local alumni here in the city with us, J.W. Rogers, who's been doing all of our grilling this year. And he smoked these for about 10 to 12 hours on his smokers and pulled them. It's about a 14 to 16 hour process. It's very good. He's informed me it's not barbecue, it's pulled pork, and it's delicious. You can get that on a sandwich, on nachos, or on French fries. Yep.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
Also have our traditional burgers and hot dogs and fries, cheese sticks, anything you would like. I would like to say that our cups this year are sponsored by Main Street Nutrition in Portland. That's another alumni from East Robertson that loves to give back to the community, and we're happy to have them here. So go Indians and come out and support the quarterback club and the concession stand.
Know that I enjoy good barbecue. And so you just saw that. So here's a barbecue sandwich and the Arnold Palmer. I'm looking forward to this. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Cheers from East Robertson.
Yeah, if you go and have that, first of all, the Arnold Palmer is outstanding. It's refreshing. It's incredible. I was surprised by how good it was. I drained that pretty doggone quick. But they have some Sweet Baby Rays out there, but that's not the secret. Go over to the grill. They have a homemade vinegar-based sauce that they will put on your sandwich or let you put on there. It's amazing. You definitely got to try it. You get out to Cross Plains, definitely get the pulled pork and the Arnold Palmer. I promise you, you won't be sorry.
I smell a new segment on this show every week. I say.
I don't think Scott would be too opposed to that either.
Maybe not.
Not at all.
So listen up, Nolensville and Brentwood Academy. We're headed out to you guys this week. Just saying.
Find something on that concession
Show us
stand
your
list
best.
that's not a burger or a hot dog, and make it happen.
Show us what you got. We'll eat it.
Yep. Gridiron Eats. I'm coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm a sucker for a good honor Palmer too. So I mean, seeing that was like, I'm totally on board with that.
I mean, and I have to kind of go back. I don't know if you've got anything on this, Chris, but I kind of have to go back to some of the other places that I visited earlier in the year and point out a couple of things.
Go for it.
Pearl Cone, the catfish, fried catfish, amazing. That's probably some of the best I've had. The batter is, exquisite. And they don't skimp either. Let me tell you,
No,
they don't skimp. That is really good. Greenbrier. Let's just go. Something that you would think is be relatively simple. The cheese fries, very well seasoned, and instead of having the cheese all over the fries, they give you a cup to dip, so you can measure out what you want, and it doesn't make them soggy. So well seasoned fries, a delicious cheese. I'm telling you, I'm going to enjoy this segment.
And one other thing I will add about Cross Plains, it's also one of the most beautiful backdrops in high school football in the Midstate. The stadium kind of sets up a little bit, and the sun goes down on the visitor side. It makes for a beautiful backdrop.
Yeah, yep. Certainly does.
And great people out there. Absolutely wonderful people.
Well, we've hit the halfway point of the regular season for most teams, so let's pull up these new rankings from Associated Press and just kind of go over each class bit by bit. Over in 6A, not a lot changing. Oakland still first. Collierville, Maryville 2 and 3. Germantown and Dobbins Bennett swapped places this week. Ravenwood still 6th, even though they've lost 2 games. They've played a tough schedule and deserve to be there. Blackman is 8th, up a spot from this week. So is Cane Ridge up at 9th, and Smyrna cracks the top 10 after not being ranked last week after Lebanon dropped out.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant change there. I don't know if you guys have noticed on Twitter or not. Aaron Carter is picking up offers left and right, and for good reason.
Yeah, he has had a turbocharged recruiting period this last week with Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, USC, and others getting on board. Even though he's committed to Memphis right now, it's picking up steam for him really, really quick.
Yeah, I'm impressed that. Rockvale is awfully close to making their way on this list.
A win this week, and you may not be able to keep them off of it.
Definitely. If they can go to Nolensville and win this week, most definitely they're going to creep in there.
Yeah. Scott, you got a good one this week out there at Nolensville. So,
well, thanks to the people for picking it.
Yeah, there you go. Rockville, Lebanon, also just outside the top 10. Centennial also grabbing a vote in that 6A poll this week. Before we go any further, anything that you guys see or want to point out for 6A for the second half of the season?
Well, I think the big, that race in Murfreesboro, we talked about it a little while ago. I mean, is Riverdale, are they going to miss out on the playoffs this year? How good is Rockvale? How good is Siegel? They've won some big games in the first half of the year. To me, that's going to be interesting. But at the same time, besides Oakland, guys, I think that region's going to beat itself up going into the playoffs. That's going to be interesting to see who comes out of there and in what position.
Yeah, 2 huge matchups looming in the upcoming weeks. Oakland versus Blackman at Blackman. That will be a spotlight game for us, I believe. Oakland this year has had to win some games in shootouts, something that we're not accustomed to. And anytime you get in a shootout with that Blaze offense, it's kind of you're playing with fire, literally. And then, of course, the Cane Ridge-Smyrna game that will likely decide that region as well. So 2 monster games coming in the upcoming weeks.
And one that we're not really seeing on this list, Brentwood and Independence are going to play each other. Indy right now still at that inside track of the number 2 seed in Region 7, but Brentwood's been playing very good defense, and will have a say as to whether they get that number 2 seed or not.
And keep your eye on Centennial. I mean, by the end of this, you could have a few more of that Williamson County area on this list.
Yep. And let's not forget about Cane Ridge and Overton. I mean, Overton, we're not showing them on this list, but that's a team that's bound for a second half surge because hopefully getting Juice Majors back will help that team offensively get really going, and they're going to have a say in whether Cane Ridge or Smyrna wins that region or not.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to 5A. Page still number 1 after week 5, although it's very close with Knoxville West, just a couple points separating the two. Springfield 3, Munford 4, Nolensville 5. Daniel Boone, Henry County, Green Hill, White County, Mount Juliet round out the top 10, and the bottom 3 right there, all from the same region. Tom, you mentioned that region 5A is one that's going to be really fun to watch the second half of the season.
Most definitely. You've got Green Hill, White County, and Mount Juliet all sitting right there. There's some good teams in there. You know, station camp factors into that as well. And again, I could see this Green Hill White County game this week, I think is going to be another entertaining game. And again, anytime you put Malachi Dowell out on that field for White County, they're dangerous. They can put up a lot of points. I just think that's going to be a fun region. And I still think it's anybody's region right now.
I'm interested to see when Mount Juliet there, that 10 spot starts to climb. You know, they've already taken out the one in front of them. They are playing some good ball, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them finish somewhere in the middle of this standing. You know, all things considered, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, where Green Hill. Chris, you keep alluding to the fact that they won some close games last year and just kind of rode that wave of confidence and you know, just, I don't want to say luck because, you know, luck is the residue of preparation. But, you know, they seem to just keep coming up on top of really close games. Can they keep doing that?
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned the team that's not on this list that is really flying under the radar there is Station Camp, a team that has a loss to White County, but they also beat a Gallatin team that beat Mount Juliet. So they're definitely going to be a player there in that region as well. Really looking forward to seeing if Nolensville can get a big win this week over Rockville to really build momentum into that Page-Nolensville game. Coming up in a few weeks. That one's going to more than likely be for a region title as well.
Yeah, and both those teams could be unbeaten at that point when they play each other in a little more than a couple of weeks from time from now. But one we're forgetting, Henry County and Springfield. That's a big matchup looming for those two teams between number 3 and number 7, possibly in a couple of weeks. Springfield's got something to say about all this.
Yeah, and I think Springfield in that 3 spot, I mean, truthfully, knowing Coach Wilson, he'd just as soon be somewhere in the 8th, 9th spot and not be. But, you know, it's arguable between those top 3 teams of who's really number 1.
Yep.
And, I mean, on any given day, I think Springfield and Page could swap number 1 not with Knoxville West and all that. It's going to be really interesting to see how 5A shakes out.
Yeah. Also, you're going to say it, Chris. Not to denote that Portland is received a couple votes this week as well.
Yeah, we were right on target, Cam. Portland's lurking over there just outside the top 10. We'll pick their game with Macon County in who you got in the next segment. 4A, top 5 didn't change at all. The bottom 5, plenty of shakeup. Procone up to number 6, 2 spots up this week. Macon County jumps up 3 spots to number 7. Still unbeaten at 5-0. Hardin County 8th, Stone Memorial 9th, and Milan is 10th. It's a largely East Tennessee flavor in 4A when you get to the top 5. But after that, Procone, Macon County have really kind of put themselves in position to do some good things. Upperman's loss to Stone Memorial kind of shook things up.
Yeah, I was at that game actually. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was at that Upperman Stone Memorial game, and, you know, Upperman, they're reeling a little bit right now, guys. They've got Watertown this week, and that's a big game, I think, for both of those teams. They both really need a win. Watertown coming off that win over Whites Creek. But let me tell you, guys, I think Macon County, the more they keep going, the more they win. They had a big win at Livingston Academy last week. Livingston opened their brand-new stadium last Friday night, so there's a lot of emotion going on A lot of hype, a lot of buildup. Macon County went in there and just thrashed the Wildcats. I think the more Macon County keeps playing well and keeps winning, they're building more and more confidence. Right now, guys, I think they're the team to beat there in that Region 4-4A.
Yeah, that's what I was one of the teams that I was going to speak on. Pearl Cone really came out of the gate facing probably their two toughest opponents that they'll play all year in Cane Ridge and NBA. Taking 2 losses, but since then, Coach Bernetti and the Firebirds have really got things righted. I believe they will continue to creep up this list. Macon County at 5-0. Looking at their schedule may be a little bit front-loaded, back-loaded. So the front half of the schedule, not that they planned it that way. Trailsy County having a bad year, and other teams struggling to that point. But Macon County has Upperman. They have Stone Memorial. I believe they have a Smith County game left on that schedule and Portland this week. Really going to find out what the Tigers have towards the second half of this season.
Yeah, that's a 4-game stretch. It's really going to define what they are this year for Macon County. 5-0 start. They haven't been here, but they were 5-0 in 2020, but that was also with a COVID win. So on the field, it's been a long time since they've been 5-0 on the field. Pearl Cone, Marshall County is going to be a really big one in that region in the second half of the season as well.
I agree, Chris. I was just looking at that, and it's after those 2 losses, everybody seemed to be a little pearl clutching around Pearl Cone. But if you look at their schedule, they got a revenge match coming up against Tullahoma next.
Yeah, and the way Creek would beat Tullahoma, that could be some exorcisms.
Yeah, and then after that, it's Glencliff, Marshall County, which is the toughest game remaining on their schedule, Greenbrier, and Montgomery Central.
Yep.
By the time that the end of the season rolls around, unless the wheels just come off, Pearl should be moving well up this list.
Yep. Over in 3A, it's Alcoa in first, East Nashville in second, Covington third, Giles County fourth, Unicoi County fifth, and the next 5 all shuffle a bit. Gatlinburg, Pittman, Sweetwater, Waverly, Dyersburg, all up 1 spot as Kingston dropped from 5th to 10th, or from 6th to 10th. Smith County just sitting outside the top 10 with some votes this week as well. Really, it's about East Nashville, Smith County, and that's about it in 3A at this point.
Yeah, Smith County, I am a little bit surprised that they're not a little bit higher up this list, but in all honesty, again, everything shakes out, in the end. East Nashville, they're where they need to be, but they've got some work to do. They've got some work to do if they want to stay up there.
Big test this week against Independence for East Nashville. I agree with what you said about Smith County, Scott. It'll play itself out, but I believe the Owls are a top 10 team in 3A.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say Smith County, they're the one and only loss, guys. It was a 3-point loss to DeKalb County on a last-second field goal. I mean, they've beaten all comers except that. And I tell you, don't take that win at Walker Valley for granted. That's a pretty tough place typically to go play, and they go down there and get a win 30-25 this past week. Smith County's playing some good football. I would argue they deserve to be in the top 10 right now.
And their schedule, except for their last 2 games are the toughest ones they're going to see. Home against Macon County and home against East Nashville.
Yeah.
Other than that, they've got Trousdale, Stratford, and at Jackson County.
Speaking of East Nashville, their second half schedule is loaded with non-region games such as Independence and Riverdale, and I think Green Hill as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect that if they lose these games close, they shouldn't fall very far down the rankings, and they shouldn't.
No.
I mean, if you're willing to schedule 5 and 6A teams as a 3A school, you shouldn't be punished for that if you're playing close. And I expect them to play all of them close. I don't expect them to get blown up by anybody at all. In fact, I think they can beat possibly all of them. So that's one to keep an eye on in the second half of the year, East Nashville.
Yep.
One team that I think they're just outside of our coverage area, but Waverly. I got to watch their game with White House last Friday night. White House jumped up 14-0 on Waverly, and Waverly outscored them 32-6 the rest of the way. The Tigers are really fluid, just one of those teams that they're not flashy. Nothing nothing about them makes you say wow. And then you look up and they're winning by multiple scores. So they're a team to watch going forward as well.
Yeah, Waverly looks to be the front runner in that region. The only team at this point that may be able to stop them is Fairview, and they still have a matchup in the second half of the season. White House and Fairview will play, and probably the winner of that game is looking at the number 2 seed. 2A, which we've been enamored with for most of the season, led by Hampton, Tyner Academy, Union City, Huntingdon, Riverside is your top 5. Fairleigh, East Robertson, Mount Pleasant, Harpeth, and Freedom Prep, 6 through 10. Harpeth is still in the poll after that big loss at East Robertson, so a little surprising there. Westmoreland sitting just outside one of the bunch of teams that got at least a point in the poll this week.
Yeah, Westmoreland's going to be on this list, guys. Whether you want to put them on there or they're going to play their way up there. A team that has 2 losses, a 5-point loss to Macon, and a loss last week to Smith County that has one of the biggest offensive lines in the state. So this Eagle team will definitely find its way on this list.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that it's just the unknown factor is the reason Westmoreland's not on here. Looking at what Harpeth had played versus what Westmoreland has played, I can't explain it. But Westmoreland's gone out there and performed against the teams they should have beat, been competitive against the teams that maybe they shouldn't. And their defense is no joke. And now, last week against Trousdale County, they actually threw the ball around and kind of expanded on their put a little color in their offensive game. That's bad news for a lot of teams in their region if they actually get that going.
Westmoreland, guys, they've got 2 great wins with Portland and Watertown already, and their only losses, Smith County and Macon County, and both of those games were close and competitive. I think looking at them, they've got a nice resume. They're playing Clay County this week, which is a very good team out of Class 1A, a good defensive battle. I look for that to be a good ball game, but if Westmoreland beats that Clay County team, and I know Clay County's only 1A, that adds another quality win to their resume. To me, that would be enough, I think, to bump them up into the top 10.
Yeah, and then Harpeth may play themselves right off this list if anything was an indication from that East Robertson game. I'm not sure that they're going to be on this list much longer. They're going to have to really regroup to keep that one loss in their column.
Yeah, 2 huge games coming up for that region that we cover here. East Robertson will go to Westmoreland on October the 14th, and then Harpeth hosts Trousdale County next Friday night in a game that if Trousdale wants to make the playoffs, they have to win it.
Yep. Sliding over to 1A briefly, McKenzie and Fayetteville 1 and 2. MASC is 3rd. Dresden 4th. Peabody 5th. Coalfield 6th. Clay County 7th. South Pitt 8th. Moore County 9th. McEwen 10th. Hall's the only other team getting a vote this week. Gordonsville was just outside of the votes. So we talked about Gordonsville. I mean, it's between them and Clay County for that region. That's really all we've got to talk about here in 1A from the teams in our area, guys.
Yeah, that's week 10 game. And I'll tell you, I talked to some Clay County players this past week, too. They're chomping at the bit because Gordonsville's had their number for quite some time. They're smelling some blood in the water, but Gordonsville's playing a little bit better. I think they're starting to get healthy. And we all know when that team is healthy with the talent they got, they're a dangerous team. So I look for the second half to be big for the Gordonsville Tigers.
Yeah, and if you notice one thing, there's only 3 teams in the East in this top 10. Definitely a West-loaded bracket here. Gordonsville has a huge game Friday night against Coalfield if they want to get back on this top 10 list. I'll go ahead and spoil it. I know the picks don't come out till tomorrow, but I actually picked the Tigers to win that game at home in the jungle. I really think that this Gordonsville team has finally got their feet up under them, and I look for them to just sort of similar to like Pearl Cone, a couple tough losses early. I look for them to climb right up this list.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. You look at their schedule, what they have left. They've got Coalfield coming up. They win that game, I think you see them on this list, or well, they should be if they beat Coalfield. But after that, Joe Burns, Stroudsville County, Red Bowling Springs, and Clay County. I mean, all those are games right there. That Clay County game will be huge. But the other ones definitely winnable for Gordonsville. So, and we've seen it too many times to count. It's the team that gets hot at the right time that tends to make a run. If they can get things together, and there's no reason to think they can't. I don't see anything stopping them from making the playoffs.
Yep. On to Division II, we'll start with Class A with Friendship Christian getting all but one first place vote this week as Jackson Christian snagged the other one. USJ snagged one as well. Excuse me. So 13-15 to Friendship Christian. Middle Tennessee Christian is fourth. Grace Christian fifth. They swapped with Clarksville Academy, who fell out this week. Really, it's about these 6 teams. DCA is in the conversation, but they still got some regrouping to do after that slow start.
Hey, Chris, can I go back and say one thing?
Sure.
Before anybody writes in, I know they're going to make the playoffs. They're only one of 4 teams in their region. I meant to say going far in the playoffs.
Very good.
Chris would have slapped me pretty good after the show on that one, folks.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No, it takes me long enough to edit this anyway. So
now looking at this list, I don't see any problems at all with this list. Friendship has done what they needed to do to pretty much solidify themselves as the best team in Division II 1A up to this point, and barring anything changing, they're the team to beat for sure.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Middle Tennessee Christian is their region competition, and they'll square off on the final Thursday this season in Week 11 for that region title. So it'll come down to those two to get a top seed from there. In AA, it's Lipscomb Academy story, and they got all 14 first place votes. Knoxville Webb second, Los Ann third, CPA fourth. Boyd Buchanan slipped from second to fifth this week. And FRA just outside the poll, getting the 7th most votes.
Yeah, Gary Rankin receiving his first loss as a coach of the Boyd Buchanan Bucks, a loss to Silverdale Baptist Academy. Kind of a surpriser for those around the state. But the team, I know they're not in our area, but the team that people need to be looking at other than just FRA is that Chattanooga Christian team's got a kid on the team. They call him Boo Carter. He's the number 1 ranked player in the state. He's a bad dude.
With a name like Boo, he better be. But he'll make an all-name team list after the year for sure. Right. On to AAA. NBA, 13 out of 14 first place votes. Baylor gets the other one. McCauley's third. Brentwood Academy fourth, and ends with fifth. Nothing really changed here, and Pope Prep is just on the outside looking in. It really is about these 6 teams that are on this screen at this point, guys. I mean, Father Ryan has played some spoiler at some point, but I don't know that anybody else is really going to play into this thing the second half.
Yeah, Baylor had an impressive win over Pope Prep. That I think it was 45-7. Baylor really flexing a little bit of muscle there in that one first place vote. I still think NBA is the top team, but I was pretty stunned that Baylor won by that big a margin over Pope.
Yeah,
a big difference in that one. Kenny Minchie did not play.
Yep.
Yeah,
that is right.
And lost their starting running back in the first quarter as well.
Yeah.
So definitely Pope Prep is feeling a little bit banged up right now, and Baylor, comes along at the right time for them. But I agree with you, Chris. I think this list is about where it needs to be. I have no argument with the ranks right now, and we'll find out if there's any change in it come Friday.
We get Brentwood Academy and NBA tussling this week, and keep an eye on Ensworth because they're going to have a shot at Brentwood Academy later on this season as well. They've kind of flown under the radar, and the Tigers are starting to kind of find their way in the western region of that class. So,
yeah, I know they've been cruising so far, guys, but tough couple of weeks coming up here for NBA as far as just make sure that they stay on track. Tough road game. Actually, 2 road games, I believe. I believe they go to Brentwood Academy and then to Pope Prep. So two tough matchups for the Big Red here.
Yep.
And follow that up with that Ensworth.
Yeah. It's going to be a good finish in Division II AAA this year. All right, let's hear a little bit from Innovate Medical before we go forward. It's that time of the week again, guys. Time to make some picks. So you got. Well. I said there was a first. Tom Duggan, congratulations. For the first time ever, somebody went 10-0 on this show, and it's you, sir.
The first time ever, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I felt Reggie breathing down my neck, and I figured I better, spend a few extra days in the gym, So, but as you notice, I'm still in fourth place.
We're just measly 3 games out, though. It's all good. It's a close race. It is a close race between all of us, and everybody went at least 7-3. So for the second straight week, too, like Cam said earlier, starting to kind of figure some things out. We haven't had a lot of wild upsets in the last couple of weeks, so
right.
Let's recap those picks from week number 5. Reggie got Brentwood wrong against Ravenwood, and a lot of correct picks on this first slide. FRA Lipscomb Academy, Harpeth East Robertson, Hillsborough Green Hill, Independence Franklin. We all got that one correct. NBA and Father Ryan, same way there. Scott, you tried with Clarksville Academy. Didn't quite work out for you. We all took Oakland over Siegel. Scott, you and Tom nailed Rockville over Riverdale. And Tom was the only one to correctly pick Hendersonville, beating Gallatin. So there's number 10.
Yep. Always a big rivalry game. It's you never know which way that one's going to go. I just had a good feeling Hendersonville, again, coming off a bye week, playing at home, and they get it done.
Sure did. For the rest of the games that we pick, everybody had at least 43 out of the 56 from last week. So
rough week.
Hey, I'll take single-digit loss weeks. I'll take them.
I'm the same way. Lose less than 10, you're in good shape. So on to the picks for week number 6. I'm a poet and didn't know it. Cane Ridge-CPA kicks us off on Thursday night. Non-region game between those two. Should be a good one of the lines, Den. Tom, you and Reggie, you're going with the Ravens. Let's hear it.
You can't go wrong when you're with Reggie, for sure. But this was one of the tougher ones for me this week. CPA is always tough, especially playing at home. Cane Ridge, the bigger school, I feel like they're playing some good football right now. I went back and forth, and I just finally settled on Cane Ridge. And I expect it to be a good ball game regardless, but I'm going to take Cane Ridge on the road.
Okay. Cam, Scott, you were going to take the other side?
I'll go ahead. CPA, you mentioned CPA playing at home. That was a factor in me picking the Lions. But really, Cane Ridge struggled last week. I believe, against Laverne, I think they were up like 7-6 or at halftime or something like that. I really just like the Lions' physicality. I like Cruz Law. I like where they're going. Really tough schedule. It doesn't get any easier with the Ravens, but I just like the Lions to be able to win a close one.
Well, the one thing was missing from the CPA, from the Cane Ridge score sheet. I did not see the name Reggie Goodlow on it. And if he's not run the ball, they may be a little bit one-dimensional. And I think, because prior to the Father Ryan game, he was averaging 100 yards a game on the ground. If he does not play, if he is out, then that makes Cane Ridge one-dimensional. Now, Siobhan Abdullah is a good quarterback, and he can do some things, and Moseville's a good wide receiver. But you can't be a one-dimensional team against CPA. Their defense will eat you alive.
Yep. All right, Clarksville and Northeast in a Montgomery County tussle up there in Clarksville. And, Tom, you've got Northeast, and the rest of us have Clarksville.
I'm just going against everybody this week, guys. I got this ground I got to make up. And, Northeast, to me, when I look back at their schedule, they've got their 3 wins, and they've been they had a tough loss with Springfield, but they played Portland pretty close. And I think this team is maybe a little bit better than a lot of people look at and think. I don't know. I just felt good about them playing at home. I feel like they're not a bad football team at all. I like Northeast. I like this pick.
This was a tough game for me to pick, and for all the reasons that Tom just gave. Cam Athey is running the ball really well. They got a good mobile quarterback in Jaden Puig. They have a very, very volatile offense. But in my opinion, Clarksville's getting better. It's taking a little time for Davin Garinger to get back. He missed last year as quarterback. He's trying to get back into rhythm with his receivers. Their running back Jamar Carnell is finally back home at running back. I think it's just taken a while for this Clarksville team to gel, and I think that I just like Isaac Shelby's team here in this game.
I feel like if Clarksville doesn't play a Sumner County team, they're in good shape. But it's those region games against those Sumner County schools that have been their kryptonite the last couple of years, and I think Clarksville gets it done at Northeast this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Davidson Academy, Nashville Christian. When these two teams were in the same class a couple of years ago, this was a big game. Take a little bit of the shine off of it now that Davidson Academy's moved up, but still a good non-region contest nonetheless. And again, Tom, going against the grain, Nashville Christian.
Well, there's 3 games I need to make up to get to first place. But, I feel like Nashville Christian struggled a little bit earlier in the season, and I feel like they've turned a corner a little bit. They've been playing better of late. Again, they're at home. Again, these two teams no longer region opponents, but I think it'll be a good atmosphere, be a good game. And I just think Nashville Christian's playing a little bit better than they have been, and I like them playing at home. I like them to get the win over Davidson Academy.
Yeah, I agree. This was a tough one for me because of that, Tom. Last week's game for Nashville Christian was against Clarksville Academy, and one of the reasons why I picked Nashville Christian was that exact reason. I felt like they had kind of righted the ship and got everything going in the right direction. But I believe this Bears team for Davidson Academy has done the same thing. After a couple of tough losses early on, really picking up momentum. I like Davidson Academy to go on the road and get another win to continue building steam.
Well, the size of the Bears is what gets me, and here's another stat for you. 6'3" Glenn Seabrooks is an offensive tackle and defensive lineman. He has 10 pancake blocks on the season. There you go, Tom. And
there you go.
he also has 4 sacks in four games. The team has 9. He also has another 6'2", 260 tackle and nose guard Roman Cobb. I think the size of Davidson Academy matters in this game. I think that coupled with the fact that they've got Simmons back is a big factor for them in this game.
I was about to make that point, Scott. Cortland Simmons back in the lineup for Davidson Academy is a big deal, and this is really going to be the first full game for him back. I'm sure he was probably on a snap count last week after coming back from injury, but having him back is a big deal for that Bears offense, and I like them to win because of that. East Nashville and Independence. We talked about East Nashville having that big non-region schedule in the second half. This is the first game of it. We are all taking the Eagles of East Nashville.
I was totally expecting to be the only one to pick East Nashville.
Oh no, we broke the mold here.
We got you full of
But
this
I'll tell you what, guys, for East Nashville, me, when I look at 3A, Alcoa, East Nashville, I think they're right there, 1 and 2, and everybody's going to say Alcoa is heads and shoulders above everyone not right now. But if East Nashville runs this gauntlet we talked about earlier in the second half, they're going to be battle tested going into the playoffs. They're not going to be scared of Alcoa or anybody else. And Independence they're a good football team. They're playing at home. They're going to have a lot of confidence, I'm sure, in this game. But I like this East Nashville team. I think they're loaded, and I think they're going to – I don't know that they're going to run the table in the second half, but they're going to gain some confidence. Watch out for them in the playoffs. I'm going to be excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, one of the best connections in the Midstate, regardless of classification, Zach Beard to Frank Gordon, is the reason why I picked East Nashville to win this game on the road in a game that could wind up being a shootout.
Yeah, Independence has had some turnover at quarterback. Looks like they finally have settled on the quarterback in Brooks Sapone. but I expect this to be a lot of Trey Hartwell in this game. I expect them to try to keep the ball away from East Nashville to kind of ground it out on the ground. But I don't know if they can do that. And not to mention that, East Nashville has a grinder of his own in Traycon Waters. He had a big week last week. So I think there's just maybe too many weapons. Yeah, I expect this to be a close game. I just think that East Nashville may have it just a little bit more, go right now, organized and confidence going forward right now.
I also see something else that kind of maybe made me kind of lean this way is when you have teams that play primarily on grass like East Nashville does, and you put them on turf with the speed that they have, it just makes them even that more dangerous. And I think that the East Nashville will use that speed to their advantage this week. And I'm liking East Nashville over Independence, just like everybody else is on this panel.
Good point.
Hendersonville at Ravenwood. Hendersonville got a big win over Gallatin last week in that rivalry game. Ravenwood did the same over Brentwood. Hendersonville hasn't shied away from teams either. If you're talking about non-region schedules being very tough, theirs has been so far. They've got Oakland. They've had South Warren out of Kentucky, 2 state champions there. They've got Baylor on their schedule as well, and then they got Ravenwood. So does it matter in the picks this week? No. We got Ravenwood winning across the board. So
yeah, look for Stephen Mack to probably have a pretty good game against this Ravenwood defense. I just don't think Hendersonville can score enough to keep up.
Yeah, I think too much Chris Parson, too much Carter Pace. I think that Hendersonville has got a good D, and they can stop teams that kind of match their kind of offense. But as Cam said, with that kind of speed and with the ability of Parson to make plays with his feet, I just think it's a little too much for them this week.
Yeah, Parson is so good. But, guys, you go back to Carter Pace, who ran for 4 touchdowns last week. That's an additional weapon on that Ravenwood offense. As much as I love Hendersonville for the upset of Gallatin and giving me a 10-0 week, I got to feel like Ravenwood's going to come out here and win this week.
yeah, I kind of agree with all that. Now, Hendersonville's gotten things going in the right direction after their open date in last week's win, but this schedule is rough, and it's going to wear on them down the stretch. And this is just the beginning of it for the Commandos. And Ravenwood, we've talked about Chris Parson and Carter Pace, but that defense really did the job against Brentwood last week, and I expect them to have a good game this week against Hendersonville. On to page 2, and it starts with Mount Juliet at Wilson Central. It's a county rivalry game. Wilson Central got their first win of the year last year. They were one of the teams that had tended to give Mount Juliet problems, and Mount Juliet coming off that high, off the big win over White County. Could this be a trap game? Well, we don't think so. They're all taking Mount Juliet.
Yeah, Darius Morton really asserted himself as the lead back for the Golden Bears. I really think that they go to Wilson Central and dish out a little frustration over struggles with this Wilson Central team in the past and start building momentum heading into a couple big region games against Station Camp and Green Hill.
Yeah, I see this as a battle between two areas. The Wilson Central running game, which they are primarily a running team right now. They're a young team, but they're taking on Coach Dedman's personality. They're tough. But I think this is their running game against the linebackers of Mount Juliet. And I just think that there may be a little too much talent there. Now, Mount Juliet is banged up. They may not have Evan Parsons on the defensive line this week. But I think that Mount Juliet's defense is just a little too much. Once again, Wilson Central more of a run first, run second, run third, and maybe pass every now and then. It'll be tough for them to beat Mount Juliet without being able to throw the ball, I'm afraid.
Wilson Central will have a little confidence coming into this week, coming off their first win and an impressive win over Hunters Lane, 35-6. But, Mount Juliet, I know they're banged up, but, guys, that was an impressive way to finish against White County in such an emotional, high-octane game as it was. That hook and ladder play was beautiful. A big win for Mount Juliet. I think they're going to ride the confidence of that, and I think they're going to go on the road and get this win this weekend.
All right, Portland and Macon County. We've talked about both of those teams earlier in this show, and they get together for a 5-0 versus 4-1 battle up there in Lafayette this week. And we're a bit split. Tom, you and Reggie are going with the Panthers, and the rest of us are on the Tigers.
Oh, guys, I struggled with this game. I think Macon County is playing such good football right now. Portland is a tough team. Macon County's tough. This is one I was just back and forth on, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe this will be the toughest test to date for the Macon County Tigers. Will they be prepared for it? Will they be prepared for the physicality Portland's going to bring in? We'll find out Friday night. I think they can win this game, but I'm going to go with the Portland Panthers getting it on the road.
Yeah, guys, if you're in the Midstate and either your team don't have a game or your team's playing somebody that you think they're going to win pretty comfortably and you want to see some really good running backs, go to this game. You got Gabe Borders from Macon County. You got Jalen Dallin, Jalen Piro, Freddie Paxton for Portland. This is going to be a display of how to play running back, guys. But the reason why I picked Macon County is not a running back. He's actually a nose guard and a tackle. His name's Mason Swindle. And that's the reason why I picked Macon County. I just like their line play just a little bit better than Portland's right now.
I think Portland has decided this is really kind of a size versus speed thing at the line position. I think that Portland's just a little bit bigger. But that being said, I think Macon County has defensive backs and linebackers that are quick, that can pinch, stop the runs from, guard the edges. I really struggled with this game because I was looking for, both these teams are nothing like each other and exactly like each other. Both are teams that are on the up, and, I had to pick one. I went with the home team. Honestly, I went with the home crowd. That was how close it was to me picking this game.
That was kind of the way I leaned to, but I also kind of took the Westmoreland factor into this one. Macon County beat Westmoreland, Portland didn't. And it's a good comparison for me. If you can get through that Westmoreland defense, you're doing something right. So I went the Tigers kind of on that little tiebreaker. Yep. Rockville and Nolensville, Scott, you'll be there Friday. Arguably one of the better games in this area with Rockville and Nolensville both playing very good football right now. Everybody on the Knights.
Wow. I did not expect that. I didn't expect that at all.
And I tell you again, this is another game I was a little bit iffy. Nolensville being undefeated and being at home. Nobody's talking about Nolensville last year like we have been the last 2 or 3 years. It seems like they've kind of flown under the radar, but I think this is still a very good football team. How good is Rockville? I asked that question earlier, and I think they're a very solid football team. They got the big win over Riverdale. Can they go to Nolensville and get it done? I just have my doubts.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Tom. A team that's super flying under the radar. And it's almost laughable that they are flying under the radar. I think this is their first week that they will really be able to assert themselves and let everybody know that the Knights mean business in 5A.
It's a very good Rockville secondary, too, that Nolensville's going to have to throw against. That's one thing that I kind of hesitated on when I made this pick. But I think the experience at quarterback into the school spots, I think, for me, that's what put Nolensville over the top. Scott?
Oh, I agree. I think both quarterbacks are very good. I think that both defensive backfields are very good. These teams match up very, very well, in my opinion. And, I think this is going to come down to just the experience of Chance Fitzgerald going up and making tough catches. I know that Rockville is, with Robbie Daniel, they've got themselves a runner. Nolensville's got 2. And I just think that in this situation, I'm going to go with Nolensville's experience. And but I expect a very, very close game that really will hinge on probably a turnover here or a turnover there.
Smyrna at Riverdale. Riverdale, having lost to Rockville last week, fell to 3-2. Smyrna has played good football. They're 4-0 right now heading into this game. And Reggie's got Riverdale, but the rest of us are on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Aaron Carter picking up all those offers. There's a reason behind that. Riverdale's offense struggling. I just like the Bulldogs to win this battle in the Borough.
Did you
Yeah, I
really
think this is
expect
gonna be
Reggie to Go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was
Go
going to say,
ahead.
did you really expect Reggie to pick a dog?
Fair
Make
enough.
a good point there.
Yeah, yeah.
I looked at this being a defensive battle, and right now I think Smyrna's playing better defensively. Riverdale, I don't know where they're at right now, guys. I don't know that any of us really know, how talented they are, where their minds are. Smyrna's playing good football, like you said, Chris, and I think they get it done on the road.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see Landon Miller back in this game for Smyrna. If they do, that elevates their game. He is a really, really good quarterback. But right now, the Bulldogs are getting it done without him. And they're actually down to their third-string quarterback, actually a wide receiver playing. And that's Thomas Jones. And they really haven't missed a beat. He can throw. He can play the position. So I think that Riverdale right now is reeling. And if Smyrna beats them here, I hate to say it's a knockout punch, but it could be.
No, it's a non-region game, so it's not necessarily playoff implications here, but I kind of agree. But Riverdale's defense may be able to keep them within striking distance. I expect a low-scoring, close ball game between these two, but I went with Smyrna just because I'm going with a hot hand here. Our spotlight game for this week is NBA at Brentwood Academy. Classic rivalry between those two schools. They've played a lot of close games over the years. Could be another good one this week, but we're all on NBA, or at least the four of us are. Before we get to the rest of the picks, Reggie, who you got?
Let him go. Here he comes. And there he goes. And here he comes again. And he's going to go with this one. And he has selected Montgomery Bell Academy over Brentwood Academy. There you go, Reg. Good job.
All right. So it is 5 for 5 for NBA.
Yeah, he outsmarted me on that one. We were going with the once again going with the little jellyfish, and he said, "Nope, I want 2 cans of food this time." So
he's a harsh negotiator.
Yeah,
he's got a good agent.
Obviously.
This matchup for me came down to experience. This Brentwood Academy team is really exceeding expectations, in my opinion, this year. George McIntyre really stepping up, playing really good at the quarterback position. Deuce Scott won a Player of the Week award in week 2 for us with his performance against CPA. But that NBA team is, it's real senior heavy. Gabe Fisher, Marcel Reed, Jonathan Moore, the Browning trainer, I believe is his name. This NBA team is just more experienced. That's why I lean Big Red.
I agree. Again, I expect it to be a close game. I think the difference is going to be Marcel Reed's feet, quite frankly, in this because Brentwood Academy has a really, really good defense. So it's got to come down to an X factor. But, guys, with these Eagles, I have a peaceful, easy feeling about this game. I think that the Eagles will take it to the limit. But at the end, Big Red will win in the long run.
We're going to end up in Hotel California if this is all said and done.
He has prepared for that all day long, I can tell.
He's been waiting to unleash that one upon the world.
Take it easy, Scott. Yeah. This NBA squad, like you said, Cam, I like their experience. You got to love Marcel Reed. He can beat you in so many ways on the field. And I love this rivalry, guys. This is one that I remember even back, in my teenage years. They would talk about Friday nights when NBA and Brentwood Academy would get together. It was such a big deal. So you love the rivalry aspect of it. I just think NBA is a better football team this year.
I believe this will be a very close ball game, just the way Brentwood Academy's defense has been playing. But yeah, Marcel Reed's the X factor here. If if Brentwood Academy cannot account for him in some way, shape, or form, he's going to hurt them. And that's going to be the difference here for me. All right. That is it for the picks. Let's run them down one more time. CPA, Cane Ridge. Tom and Reggie on Cane Ridge. The rest of us on CPA. Tom's got Northeast over Clarksville. The rest of us have the Wildcats. Tom's got Nashville Christian over Davidson Academy. The rest of us are on the Bears. We've all got East Nashville over Independence. We've all got Ravenwood over Hendersonville. We've all got Mount Juliet over Wilson Central. Tom and Reggie on Portland over Macon County. The rest of us have the Tigers. We've all got Nolensville over Rockville. Reggie's got Riverdale over Smyrna. The rest of us have the Bulldogs. And all 5 of us went with MBA over Brentwood Academy. Gentlemen, that's all the damage we can do for a week, I think. And we did a lot of it. Well, one more before we get out of here. Cam, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, really like a 50-50 schedule this week with 50% region games, 50% non-region games. Teams start pretty much wrapping up their non-region schedule this week. Really look forward for that Nolensville Rockville game, for that NBA Brentwood Academy game. There's a bunch of teams that are flying under the radar that's about to get tested, and we'll find out who is contenders and who's pretenders. One thing that I will add in my last quote here is will not be on the scoreboard show Saturday, so I got to get it in right now. Go Vols, beat Florida.
Fair enough. Tom, you're up next.
Well, guys, like Cam said, the non-region action is beginning to wind down. These games coming down the home stretch are going to be big. You look at some of the records of some of the teams that are expected to be contenders. You might see some 3-2s, maybe some 2-3s out there, but realize how good some of these teams are by the level of competition that they have played throughout the first half of the season. Injuries can always factor in as well. The cream's going to rise to the top here in the next few weeks, guys. And I tell you, I'm intrigued by this schedule of games this week. All 10 games that we picked this week I thought were pretty tough for the most part. I think will be good matchups, most non-region. But again, once we get plays starting next week, we're going to be region heavy for the last few weeks, and it's going to be a fun ride to the end of the regular season.
All right. Scott, yours.
Yeah, I'm going to make a plea for Saturdays. And this doesn't have anything to do with games this week, but it has to do with a continuation of players that you see and hear. When you're watching these college games on Saturdays, make a point to look for the guys that you used to cheer for on Friday nights. Guys like Berrien Brown for Kentucky, or Ray Banner is over at MTSU. You got Key Lawrence over at Oklahoma. You've got a lot of players out there that, those that are still playing. And it's fun to watch those guys. It's fun to watch them. Reggie Grimes over at Oklahoma. Jake Brennan still at Clemson. Thank you. These guys, it's fun to watch their progression and to see them grow into even better players. And in the case of Reggie Grimes, who's making academic strides, and the other ones can be as well, but I just know about his, that are really knocking it out of the park in the classroom as well. Make a point to look for your guys that you supported and kind of support them and watch them grow. And, that makes it fun. That gets me going when I see some kids that I saw. And Chris will have to help me, but the offensive tackle for Summit last year is playing for MTSU. Those kids, we pull for kids. We don't, more often than not, than we ever pull for schools.
Yeah, guys, we cover high school football in Middle Tennessee, and it has been slept on for so long, but it's starting not to be slept on. If you look at these Power 5 schools, SEC, ACC, et cetera, almost every one of those teams have a kid from the state of Tennessee, and most of them have a kid from Middle Tennessee on their roster. So we have good high school football in Middle Tennessee. Go out and watch and support these kids and continue to support these kids.
Scott, I believe Cooper Cook was the one that you're talking about from Summit.
That's true.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I had a question this week about our top 10 games list that we pick. Just wanted to clarify something. all those 10 games are between teams in our coverage area. If your team is playing somebody from outside the 615 area code, it's not going to make that list just because we want to keep our coverage local. That's really important to us. Now, down to the playoffs, when there's 7, 8, 10 games left in the whole state, yeah, we're going to pick them all. But right now, we're keeping our coverage inside. So just want to clear that up. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really important for us to cover these teams here because we get asked if we're going to expand, but I would like to see us improve here first before we try to expand. So just
help us to expand.
Just a point.
You know, if you want us to expand, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us out, say hello, spread the word, get other people to view our channel. We provide 100% free content about Tennessee high school sports in the 615 area code. If you want us to cover the Upper Cumberland, or if you want us to cover West Tennessee, or if you want us to cover Knoxville area teams, help us expand. That's the only way we're going to do that.
Yep. That's well said. That's really all we've got for this edition of the Midstate 48. We're at the halfway point of the regular season. Should be a great night on Friday night weather-wise for football, so make sure you get out there and enjoy it. And let's just have fun with it because really that's all we can do. Enjoy it. Go find a game somewhere. There's some good games to have. Even on Thursday night, there should be some good games to go watch. So for Tom Duggan, for Cam Reed, for Scott Burton, I'm Chris Brooks. Thank you for joining us for the Midstate 48, driven by Miracle Auto Group. We will see you on the Scoreboard Show on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you join us then, and also here this same time next week. So long, everybody. Have a good one.